Okay. Yeah, I'm real excited about this year because um, at the very end, you'll hear why. Because I had an encounter in heaven, and they are excited in heaven about what God is doing. And so I'm gonna kind of read probably what He gave me because I want to make sure that it's just what He says, you know. But He said that this. He said it's not a miracle if a man can do it. Go after the miracles, and I think that's kind of a commission for all of us. When you're at Walmart or you're at one of the stores, step out and go for the miracles. You know, when you see someone that needs to be healed, step out and go for it, because this is the year for miracles, is what he said. And in Matthew 15:30, he said, they brought the dumb, the lame, the maimed, which is missing body parts. I had to look up that word. What is maimed? And so if you're missing a body part, that's a miracle. And they brought the blind to Jesus, and he made them whole. And so that's what this year, I feel like this year is for. And the missing body parts is really kind of what he emphasized for this year, along with some other things. But the maimed and the made whole. And then he has never told me to pray specifically for the military. You know, and he said, what he gave me, he said, pray for the military servicemen, and I know that means women also, who has lost legs, has lost arms, that's in trauma because of fighting for the United States. And he said they were fighting for the country that I love. The Father loves the United States and your country, but since I live here, he was talking to me specifically about the United States. And he said they were fighting for me, even though they didn't know it or even know me. And I thought that was really interesting. The servicemen are fighting for the country that God loves. And they're fighting for a God that they don't even know. But he knows them. He knows that they are fighting for him. And he said they were and they are on my side. And then he gave me Mark 9:40. He says, for who is not against us is on our side. And I thought that was really good. And he was wanting us to pray for the body to be made whole, because there's such trauma. You know, there's such trauma.
Especially PTSD going hand in hand with people who've been in combat and been in war. I mean, just if you've ever watched American Warriors, you know, the show that they produce here, I mean, the trauma people have seen and walked through is overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Only Jesus could remove that and heal that.
Exactly. You know, and even some of the medicine that they give the military men causes them to hallucinate. And it's like, so well, that, you know, that kind of defeats the purpose. But he has such a heart right now for the servicemen and for those that have been in trauma. That's his heart right now, is for those that are kind of struggling in the trauma area. And he led me to John 5. He said there was a certain man who had suffered with a deep-seated and lingering disorder for 38 years. So, you know, we don't know how old he was. At least, you know, probably 48, 58, you know, we don't know. And then Jesus noticed him lying there helpless, knowing that he had already been a long time in that condition. And he said to him, now he asked him a yes or no question. You know, do you have people that you ask them this? That was a yes or no question. It was like 10 minutes later, you come up with some kind of an answer. I know someone very close to me that's like that. But anyway, so Jesus said to him, do you want to become well? Are you ready? Are you really in earnest about getting well? And the invalid answered him, and that was yes or no. It was yes. But the way he answered him says, sir, I have nobody when the water is moving to put me into the pool. But when I'm trying to get into it myself, somebody else steps down ahead of me. And Jesus said, get up, pick up your mat and walk. You know, and then I'm like, and then Jesus goes on and in verse 14 says, sin no more, that nothing worse may happen to you. I'm like, what? Why would Jesus say that to someone that is an invalid that has been laying by the pool for at least 30? Why would he tell him sin no more? What is he doing? And so Jesus said, go back and read it again. And so what stood out to me is that this man, he was blaming other people for his condition. He said, I have nobody when the water's moving. And then he goes on to say, somebody else steps down ahead of me. And so it's somebody else's fault that I'm not getting healed. It's somebody else. It's like self-pity. And he's blaming. And then he led me to Proverbs 14, says, a tranquil heart gives life to the flesh, but envy and jealousy makes the bones rot. And so blaming other people for your condition, and he kind of gave me a couple of scenarios of a man saying, well, if my dad hadn't have left, if he hadn't have been such an alcoholic or so abusive, if he hadn't have ran off with another woman and left me home, to raise the kids, I wouldn't have been an angry teenage boy, and I wouldn't have joined the service. And if I hadn't have joined the service, then I wouldn't have been in the Humvee that got blown up, and I wouldn't have lost my legs. So it's all because of Dad. Or there's people that, it wasn't military, but he also showed me like someone riding a motorcycle, and it kind of seems to be all dad issues today, but moms are in there too, but it kind of seems to be dad issues today. But, and then I saw like a boy on a motorcycle, and he was mad because the dad was abusive, and he got on his motorcycle and he takes off. He doesn't put on his helmet. Well, he ends up getting hit. Somebody hits him. And he loses his legs, or he loses his eyesight, or he becomes paralyzed. And so the boy, instead of, so he blames the dad. If he hadn't have been so angry, I wouldn't have been so mad and jumped on my motorcycle, forgot to put on my helmet, like my mother tells me. And I wouldn't have been driving so fast, and that car wouldn't have hit me. And it's all because of Dad's fault, and it's all that car's fault. It's all somebody else's fault,
I
and
think we all can relate to this, because the first thing the human heart wants to do is find a reason why. Like, I think most of us, when we're in a suffering season, we're always saying, God, why is this happening? Or we're trying to find our natural mind, for some reason, always wants to find a reason. God, tell me why. It's like, tell me why this is happening. Even the disciples, when they went with Jesus and they saw the lame man or the blind man, and they said, Lord, whose sin was it? Was it his parents, or was it his? Like, we're just that way as human beings. We always want to know. We've all been through this. We've all walked through this. What the lame man at the pool of Bethesda, I think some point in our lives, we've all been there, but it's what do you do in that position when Jesus comes?
Right. And through all this, it was the Father's love. I just really felt the Father's love, that, the servicemen or anyone that has been through any kind of trauma and you've lost any kind of body parts, his love is there now for the miracles. His love, yes, your dad was an alcoholic. Yes, your mom was molested, and she got pregnant with you, and she gave you up for an adoption. Yes, some other things were going on, and but now is the time for the Father's love. I feel like this is just that he has such a heart now for healing, for miracles. This is the year for miracles and to break off trauma. And he actually gave me specifically when I woke up this morning, right before I woke up, the Holy Spirit gave me a name, and he said Stockwell. And I feel like that's someone's name. He said Stockwell. And then I also saw like a green army Jeep in the backyard. And now the backyard could represent your past, or it could be literally somebody named Stockwell. You have a green Jeep in your backyard. And in the backyard, I also saw a lot of trash. And every item of trash was attached to a memory. And I saw this person like looking up in the backyard, and like, once again, your backyard, can be different. It could be literally your backyard is full of trash, or it could be your backyard being your past. But I saw this man like standing and looking at his backyard, and there was a bottle, a pile of whiskey bottles. And every time he looked at the whiskey bottles, he remembered, well, I drank that to numb the pain from whatever the pain was. And then I saw cases of empty beer cartons. And he said, well, I remember drinking those to numb the pain of my kids leaving me, or, things like that. And it was the trauma that he's wanting to break. And God is wanting to heal. And so this Stockwell, I heard him say right before I woke up, Stockwell, are you ready to be well? Are you ready to be well? Because, when people have trauma, it's, it's a chemical, it could be a chemical imbalance. It could be, your nerves in your brain are actually not, they're not firing right, and he's asking not only whoever the Stockwell person is, but he's asking people right now, are you ready to come out of the trauma? Are you ready to be healed?